Hey, so there's so much to talk about with Naxx that's a little overwhelming, but let's start, right? And Naxx really starts with Spiderwing. This is going to be the first experience for a lot of people in Naxx. In speedrun format, Naxx starts with Spiderwing anyways, so it's just a good place to start. And I'll give some initial thoughts and we'll just go a little bit pull by pull and explain some of the points where things go wrong. So this is the safety corner. You want to get deep in this corner. If you're kind of like up, we'll see if anyone else starts walking, right? Like if someone were to stop under like the raid frames right here, the spiders can see you as they patrol by. So we always mark the first mob. It's very important that you don't mark one of like the middle mobs in this pack because if you try and like ranged pull it, they'll continue to run if you don't pull the first one. So that's why our strategy is always to run into it as the patrol is coming back. So we technically are fighting two skitterer packs at once. These skitterer packs, they have a low amount of health. They don't hit super hard, but if you get hit by all of them at once, that's how you die. So what we do is an AoE shout from one of our main tanks, and it's super easy. By the time the AoE shot is over, all the skitters are dead. That's the basic strategy in most of Spiderwing to deal with these skitters is AoE shouts. You're going to see after this one here, we are kind of an anti-AoE shout group. We do one or two more, but lots of times we are just cleaving and having a pretty easy time. So just for extra safety, to make sure it's super easy and reliable, we don't have our buffs out for this part. Just something to think about. If you're a speedrun, obviously you take your buffs out at the start, but after that first pack, this is when we personally make the call to always unboon as a raid group. Not everyone's like this, of course, but just something to pay attention to as far as like the different strats, right? There's all little different things you can do in Naxx. There's a lot of variables, and I'm just going to try and show you where we have things as controlled as possible. So for Spiderwing, you really do need 6 tanks. For Naxx, that's what I always have is 6 tanks. For 4 horsemen, technically you need 7 or 8 if you're doing a more basic strategy, but we just use 6 for 4 horsemen as well. So get used to that. There's going to be one person on each of these mobs, and the skull target is the really dangerous one to understand on these packs. This skull target, the stalker, first of all, it hits pretty hard. So if you're not a tank and you get hit by the stalker, it kills you really quickly. It does like a double attack sometimes, hits really hard. Other thing to mention are these spinners. There's 2 different kinds, the creepers that you see and the spinners. The spinners do a frontal cone AoE, so it's important that the tanks are always facing the mobs away. Looks like potentially I see a poison debuff on a couple raiders here, so I didn't pay attention during this if a charge happened. Looks like maybe it was cleansed and removed. So kind of weird here. Potentially we didn't kill Skull quite fast enough. But the strategy is that you have your entire raid run into this pack and you have 1 or 2 people far away. So if the charge does happen, when the green spider charges, it does a very powerful poison spell that hurts a lot of, it does a lot of damage. So you just make sure that only a couple people are eligible to get hit by it. So right here is a pretty bad example of how to position for this pack. People are kind of trickling in and there's no clear secondary group. So in a situation like this, if the spider did charge, it could potentially not charge super far and the AoE radius of that poison would affect a lot more people and you need to cleanse that spell. You can't really heal through it. It just hits so hard. So that's why EPRs are good for Naxx, is specifically these packs in case there's ever a disaster where the stalker does charge and hit a lot of people. Seemed like a lot of damage was going out here. I felt like spinners were not always turned around well. Those creepers, they do a curse. So this is a good time for mages and druids to just practice their decurse to make sure that their macro or add-ons, whatever they're doing to help with decurse works properly. Something to just think about is how you can individually improve during Naxx. It's a very individual focused game. So Locust Swarm, you see here, that's something that raids typically won't have to deal with if you have world buffs out. I'm going to focus more on a faster pace here. We're not going to go into the nitty gritty of like the 2006 strats of Naxx, or even 2019 strats. Most guides would explain the locust swarm and how to move and that kind of stuff. We can do that later for a Naxx Lite, where we talk about having buffs not out, but in the style of having buffs out in a raid where most people are going to have rank 14 weapons, the reality of what Anniversary Server is, let's just try and kind of stay in that mindset and the mindset that a lot of you guys that are watching are going to be experiencing. So after you kill the first boss, this gate is now able to be opened. But before you get to this gate, you got a couple more packs. We skipped the one spider pack on the right side. If we go back here a little bit when we're walking in the room here, on this other side here to the right, there is another big green pack. As you're doing the start of Naxx progression where people need Echoes of War, expect to kill that third pack. My advice is to kill this skitter pack here, and then you can run directly into the side pack. Don't try and do some weird things where you try and get really fancy. Each time on these green spider packs, just run into them, have a couple people far away that you know will be far away, and kill Skull really quickly. That's how you take care of these packs. So anyways, again, this is a pack that you don't really get to see Zert's perspective of the pack behind us because the hunter is always focused on what's in front of him, not what's going on in the background. So as long as I say, you can pull whenever, that's what he's paying attention to. And this is a area that a lot of people will mess up and they're going to get too close to that left pack. So just pay attention to how he pulls this. If you're not really confident, don't do that. You're going to potentially cause big issues. But that was a perfect example of how to pull that pack. You're also seeing that he's using dynamite effectively here. Lots of times in this room, when you're casting your dynamite, you see for half a second there, it looked like it almost went on the ceiling, but he cast it correctly. Just know that it's really easy to like whiff your dynamite and hit random other things in this area. It's just a thing that happens a lot. So practice and get familiar with good dynamite uh, movements, whatever you want to call it. So these mobs, they rip you in. We've now passed the green spiders, and on this one, it's just a ton of spinners. So I believe the spinners also do the rip in. Yeah, the spinners are mobs that pull you in. That's dangerous. Here, we always want to focus on skull. The way I remember it is gray means stay away. These reavers, they do a cleave. So when I saw it run near all the casters, it's a little scary. We do a good job of quickly killing it though. I just, as the main tank, got pulled far away from this mob, so it was a little harder for me to get to it, but all the trash can be taunted. As long as it's a beefy warrior, as long as you are, 10k health and your full plate gear, anyone can taunt one of those ads and they should be fine. The big problem that happens in Naxx is when you are attacking and getting hit by multiple things at once, or you're just, not expecting the person that's taking damage to take damage. Obviously, that's just kind of a raid thing to explain in general, but you really do feel it in Naxx where all of a sudden it's like, whoa, how did he die? That was random. So this is where we now use our AoE shouts upcoming here. Again, lots of groups, they're going to AoE shout these single packs, but I personally like to make sure that the people that I'm most confident in their AoE shouts, that I know are going to do it like 99% of the time correctly, are the ones that I count on for the tougher packs. So for this one right here, um, we just, again, pull it back to us. So there's two different green spider patrols in this area. The first green spider patrol is basically up to where we're standing now. So you need to be aware of that. It patrols up and then goes back down the hallway. What often happens, and we're going to be ready to AoE shot if we had to fight green spiders at the same time as this skitterer pack, then that is when we would, yes, do additional AoE shots because we don't want anyone to die while we're full blasting. But the idea here is that you don't need to full blast as a mage. You have enough warriors that all warrior can just hit one or two mobs, and mages can then arcane explosion or flame strike from a distance and feel super safe. The problem happens when mages feel like that they're super safe and an AoE shout gets messed up. We're going to see countless times in Naxx where AoE shouts think they go out and they don't go out properly. So this is an example of an AoE shot going out properly and us dealing with a unfortunate patrol. So we wanted to hug to the left here. If we had properly all hugged farther to the left, Kev's, I think he was trying to distract that, but he ended up getting too close and pulling. I think I made the call, like if you can just, I don't know if I actually said it, but anyways, the point being, our goal here was just to get the green spiders, which patrol all the way down here. This is the second pack of green spiders. This one goes all the way right to where it is and then back up the hallway. And that other pack that you're about to see to our right, that's the one that comes up to the base of the cave that we were just at. So we get an additional skitter pack. You need to kill both of these packs anyways for the logs. So the key here, a lot of times in this circumstance, a caster is going to see all these mobs and they're going to start blasting. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Fortunately, I got to land hands there. I was being a little bit crazy that I didn't have a lip on and I was trying to soak a lot. I demo shouted and got hit down to like 1k health, 2k health, so nearly lost the main tank. And that's going to be the problem that you have in Spiderwing, is the wing that's supposed to be safe, the wing that's like the build up. It's going to take resources from you. It's going to take tanks, it's going to take healers, it's going to take mages, and you're going to lose buffs and it's going to become a lot tougher. So I think this is a good example of a good AoE shout and then potentially follow up AoE shout. Notice how Xurt is positioning himself as far away from this as possible. That was a perfect example of how to soak a charge. So the entire raid did not get charged because the hunter is on the ball and correctly positioned away from the raid. It's important to have two different groups. Look how technology moves farther back, a clear separation so that some people in the middle don't get hit as well. So only like 3 people got hit there and they instantly all got cleansed. Very on the ball play there. Or they used DPR, but I just know for a fact that they cleansed. So he feigns here, which is smart. This was right on the edge, and I said if you can pull instantly, do it, but he was playing extra safe. He's watching the patrol here. This is the first area that well, we talked about the last skitter patrol. People will wipe to that a lot. People will wipe in this hallway here to those green spiders, how they will then social other skitters, and you're suddenly fighting multiple packs at once. This is the area that a lot of speedruns will start falling apart. They're going to try and go fast, and they don't realize the skitter patrol. If you pull these humanoids and the skitter patrol then runs by it, it can easily social and pull other packs as well. And if you pull 2 or 3 of these packs at once, you are in big, big trouble. I personally have survived 2 packs at once, so we're not going to look at clips of that right now. It's something we can talk about later. My recommendation is you run super, super far back and you separate the black and the green mobs. The black and the red ones. The reds, they cast. The black ones, they do a knockback. So if you separate yourself a far distance, these black ones will just run, 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 and the red ones, they will stop to cast for a second. So that allows you more separation, and you're then not dealing with all the mobs at once. And that's basically our style with pulling these, is we want to have separation develop. So while these mobs in the back are casting, no one is in range of their volleys. So you see how they're all casting and they hit no one? That's the goal every single time. Now some groups, they're going to have you pull much farther back here, but look at how much damage we took. As long as you have world buffs out with strong levels of damage and you properly position yourself, these packs are super safe and you're just wasting time if you pull them super far back. So again, the idea is not to do this. There's going to be a couple people that get hit by multiple, no, actually that one was perfect. Upcoming here, we'll see it. But yeah, so horseshoe patrol, the patrol goes all the way to the other side and that's coming back all the way this side. It's just like a U, like a horseshoe. So boom, 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 boom. So now it's on its way back. Skitters, we do not AoE shot on this pack. I just put on a shield and use a dynamite, and really easy for the tank. I mean, look how much damage I took, like none. I took like 2k damage. It's really safe as long as you have a shield on and you get a pre-shield maybe. Not super difficult. All the tanks just taunt one, super safe. But you will see instances where people AoE shot there and then they die in their AoE shot or they mess it up and someone else dies. So just know I am very anti AoE shot in general for Spiderwing for single packs. If it's a single pack, I personally just see It has a resource loss, potential for people to mess up, compared to the bigger downside of a death, compared to the small upside kind of thing. So again, you're seeing the hunter just set the pace here. I'm saying pull, and then he pulls. Easy peasy. And yeah, Kirky got hit by one there. What happens is if the melee are too far forward, they're going to hit by all the red mobs at once. And it's basically like a wombo combo, 100 to 0 almost. But healers are really on the ball here. They're staying far back. They're never getting hit by the knockback. The problem is that these cultists here, if they reach the healers, healers are not going to have good uptime. Casters can't cast if they're constantly getting knocked back, right? So our goal on each one of these packs is to create a wall and never let these cultists reach the casters. This was a pretty scuffed Feralina. I always Death Wish at the start of Feralina. It's not really a threat rush fight though. This is a fight where we always kill Skull and X first. In like a true speedrun format, you're probably just cleaving off the boss. But 99% of the time, I would recommend killing the Skull and X target first here. They do a charge and a silence, and they create a lot of disruption and issues for the mind controllers. On this fight, it's the first time where priests are mind controlling targets. It's really good practice later for Vesuvius, so I recommend if you are a priest, this is where you should practice doing the mind controls. And it's a little hard to see what goes wrong here. Looks like triangle just breaks. So triangle gets mind controlled here potentially. Yeah, so it has the debuff, and Homie is just really paying attention to it. He's just chaining his taunts over and over. These, if it's not skull, like we marked the two mobs that do the charge and the silence, the middle mobs, I forget what they're called. But anyways, those ones, they can be taunted and transfer threat. The square, moon, diamond, and triangle, those don't transfer threat like normal mobs. So if a mind control breaks, it's going to stay on that priest until it dies. It gets like a million threat, and it's just going to create issues. So if you see that happen to a priest where their mind control breaks and they're in trouble, you need to chain your mocking blow into a taunt, into a challenging shout, and likely accept that that mob is not going to be useful for you. Again, in a world buffed raid like this, you can pop two of the ads instantly, pop another one 20 seconds into the fight, and it's going to be dead pretty soon after that. The key though is instantly popping. So you see the priest positioning here, they are trying to get their mind control and sacrifice off as quickly as possible right on top of the boss. So notice here how I'm not moving the boss much at the start. My goal is as little movement as possible until that first um, explosion happens. So the priests don't have to feel like they're ever going to outrange me. They are standing still in their spot that's not super far away from me and can easily do the first pop. That's the number one thing to understand about Feralina. But yeah, this was kind of scary. We were taking a lot of damage here from the Rain of Fire. We were trying to move out of it. But yeah, just getting kind of owned. I kind of panicked here. I got down really low health. Already had used some defensives previously on that scary skitter pull, so definitely a little bit sus there. One thing to note is me as a main tank, I'm basically just wearing tier 2.5 and pretty threat-oriented pieces for this entire wing. If we were doing a two-phase of Maexxna, then I would be wearing basically full mitt. But since we are a blaster raid that is going to kill Maexxna in under 40 seconds, I need to be more DPS focused as a tank. So after Feralina, we fight another one of these gray mobs. Um, these are a little bit easier. That gray pack that we saw previously, they were full of spinners, which makes it very scary. The spinners, they do a lot of AoE potential, and notice how everyone's kind of like close together here. If mobs start turning around, that cleave starts happening, it's a ton of damage all at once. Compared to after Feralina, it's pretty safe. All you care about is killing the skull and not accidentally pulling the patrol. So this skitter patrol, it comes back and forth here. We pull it back slightly just to feel a little bit safer, but as long as you don't stand like along the line of that egg right there, you're pretty safe. You'll see it basically reached the end of its patrol right where Zert pulled it right there. Again, we just cleave this pack. A couple people use engineering and it just dies. One bop there as well. This is kind of a fun area for mages where, again, AoE shouts can get messed up, so you always need to be safe. And if you are pure blasting, I would recommend having a Blessing of Protection if you are on Alliance side, of course. And maybe we'll look at some more Horde footage later. This is definitely a little bit more Alliance focused, but I'm sure that there's things that if you're not familiar with Naxx on either faction, you'll learn something from this. These Acolytes, they die really fast. They do hit really, really hard. If they both do their spells at once, it's really dangerous. If only one of them is casting, it's very manageable. So the goal here, we instantly kill skulls super quick, and suddenly it feels like no damage is going out. If both those mobs were casting multiple times, it really does hurt. But now you're looking at like the biggest damage output in Spiderwing, surprisingly, is these gargoyles. They put poison on every single person, and it's a stacking poison. So it's a real DPS race. If you don't kill these gargoyles fast enough, they will wipe your raid. And the issue is when they get below 20% health, they start healing. They go like dormant for 3 seconds. You'll see here. So they go dormant right here. And if they don't die, the Stone Skin starts casting. If we were not able to kill this mob, it would regen its health and come back at full health. And that is the really depressing and unfortunate part of Naxx in lower tier groups is experiencing that where you can't kill the gargoyles fast enough and you just know that your raid is wiping. It's a rough feeling, let me tell you. Definitely had it happen before. So again, note how Zert is pulling these, where they whiffed their first cast. That cast could have done a lot of damage. We all have the poison debuff on us going still. It's only 3 stacks of the poison, so it's like 150 damage. Not bad at all. But that stacking debuff, while the healer's not super close, in combination with 2 volleys, that's really deadly. So the way that we pull these back towards us, and then by the time that they cast again, they're already dead. So like literally 0 damage went out on those. Now there's, forgot to mention the ghouls. In this area here, there's ghouls that patrol back and forth. That's kind of the end of their patrol right there where Zert pulled them, and then they both do like 2 semicircles. The important thing is just understand where the end of the patrol is here so that you don't accidentally get 2 at once. They do slightly almost overlap at one point in their patrol, so it is possible to pull both packs of ghouls at once, and that is a time where I would 100% recommend chaining AoE shouts over and over and over with lips. Those ghouls, when they get below 50%, they enrage. They can be stunned or disarmed, so that helps, but even through a disarm, I've seen them kill people. Again, that's a reason why paladins are so good, is the Hodge, Hammer of Justice, really powerful spell on those ghouls. So you see for a second here, I didn't want to pull right where we are here. They could have pulled both packs at once, so we make the call for the rogues to distract. So rogues distract those ghouls. And last patrol to mention through Spiderwing, these mobs go 2 green spiders. There's 2 sets of them. They go right to basically past this Spirit of Naxxramus, and then they turn around. So sometimes you won't see these green spiders at all with their patrols, just based on timing. Here you see in this raid, there's one that's walking towards us and one that's walking away. Sometimes the patrols are more staggered, less staggered. But anyways, these green spiders, again, we talked about them before, how if they charge and the poison hits a lot of people, it's very deadly. So our goal each time that we fight these green spiders is to kill them before they charge and have someone out to the side. So now final boss here on Spiderwing. One more pack of acolytes and we are through. So we skipped a fair amount of trash here in this medium area. We just hug the left, follow the slime. This slime, it makes your health and mana low if you step in it, so it's just walking along that line and not pulling this shade in the middle. Notice how everyone is staying low. They aren't touching the slime, but they're getting as close as possible. That's so that no one accidentally pulls that shade in the middle. Not a big deal to pull a shade, but just something to think about. These shades in Spiderwing can be stunned. In Death Knight Wing, it's not as consistent. There's one or two shades that can't be, but the two shade spawns that we went past, that previous one right there, which Cert pulls, this one can be stunned, so lots of times you see warriors all intercept into it. And then this next one here too, but we just skipped this one. For logs, you need to have a total of 16 ghouls, I believe, and two shades. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just memory. Eventually, you're just gonna kind of learn and think about where the mobs are that you need to kill or don't kill. There are weak orders to track it. For me, it's just something I have in my brain as far as how many we've done or haven't done. But now we're on to Maexxna. And based on the level of DPS that we're seeing in AQ40, really quickly groups are going to be able to one-phase Maexxna. In the 2020 version of Naxx, 19 into 20, it was a case where groups were not able to one-phase Maexxna for a while. They needed to get more gear, but eventually all the speedruns start one-phasing Maexxna, and that's what we do here. So one thing to note is the tank positioning. Notice how I'm going on the right side here, while all the melee DPS are ideally going on the left side. That's so they don't parry haste me on the opener. Notice how I am death wished on the opener. This is like the first really big threat fight where it's scary. Um, on all three of these bosses, you cannot taunt them. Anubercon, Feralina, and Maexxna. It's just pure based on threat. So on the opener, I am going ham. I have a stone shield on, and again, I am in pretty threat focused gear because if we get a web wrap, I'm going to use my shield wall. I need to use my shield wall at the last second before the web spray happens, but we are banking on that not happening. Part of the reason we're banking on that not happening is these people that get knocked up on the walls here, they would be in much more risk of dying if they have to survive through the 10 seconds of the web wrap where or the web spray where no one's healing them. But you see here, we kill it in time. There are some ads that spawn, so a lot of times people like Sapper and take care of the ads. Each time that there's a phase of this fight, those little ads will come out. Here, people just instantly cleave them down. In a warrior raid like this, they really are not something you think about at all when you have buffs out. In an unbuffed raid, those skitters do play a much more significant role, as well as getting people off the walls. In a normal Naxx that is not fully buffed, going ham, it's very important to have multiple of the range focus on the walls. However, again, we are putting all of our DPS in being able to kill Maexxna in one phase. So just giving some thoughts here. I'm looking forward to going over more of the wings. I kind of just want to break it down wing by wing for now because there's so much for me to talk about. And just doing this a little bit from like an overall perspective, if there's one class in particular you want me to talk about, let me know. Obviously, people want to know more warrior detail, but I just think that in general, trying to get the conversation going. So first little bit of a taste into Naxx, and I have so much more to say. So thanks for listening, and until the next one.